West Virginia can win a national championship. West Virginia can win a national championship. West Virginia can win a national championship. That's right. Rich Rodriguez said that today 3 times on the Pat McAfee show. What is going on? Welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner. Thank you for joining me here in this show, which is brought to you by Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner, attorneys at law, and BetUS Online Sportsbook. Appreciate you guys hopping in the show tonight. This is a live show. Hopefully, we'll be joined by a guest here shortly. Mr. Matt Thornsberry, who some of you may know from the Big 12 Blitz show he did here on my channel for a few weeks. Hopefully, we're going to get back to doing that show here soon. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the introductory press conference for Rich Rodriguez today, along with his appearance on the Pat McAfee show and some of the things that were talked about. I'm just going to react to it. It's going to be a very informal show, just some conversation. And I'm just going to give you some of my thoughts, some of the things that stood out to me, some of the things I liked about it, and why I'm so friggin' excited. Before we get into it, though, I do have to do a little bit of housekeeping. So stick around for about 35 seconds. Be right back. Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident or fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com. What is up? Welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner. Come on in, make yourself comfortable, bail yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out this shot of top-shelf college football news and analysis. Again, we're talking about the Rich Rodriguez press conference today and his appearance on the Pat McAfee show, some of the takeaways, some of the things that were said, talked about. First of all, yes, they talked about Rich Rodriguez said that he thinks West Virginia can win a national championship. Now, do I think that's possible? I'll be honest with you. Until today, I did not. And I still think it's extremely unlikely because of the nature of today's sport, because of the resources that West Virginia will need to do that. And maybe they're going to get that now with Rich Rod at the helm. I don't know. But he thinks they can, and that gives me hope. We have a coach in there now who thinks they can do it. To me, the previous coach did not seem to think that. So, maybe this change in mindset, this change in mentality is what was needed in this program. It's going to be a shot in the arm, so to speak. And hopefully we'll rejuvenate the program. I know a lot of people don't agree that it was the right move, that going back to the past isn't the right thing to do. But again, I feel like when you lay all the candidates out, you laid out the resumes, it just made sense, And I do think that him being from West Virginia, being tied to West Virginia is going to help here. Because I don't think you get the money that could potentially flow his way from Ken Kendrick, Pat McAfee, the other major donors. I don't know that I'm confident no other coach is going to get those resources given to them. And his tie to the program, the fact he coached there before, and the fact that he's from the state, all help. It matters. Not saying it's an end-all be-all, but it matters, and I think that's those are many of the reasons he's getting those resources committed to him, in my opinion. Details of his contract came out today. Coach Rod mentioned in the Q&A session that it was a 5-year contract. Since then, it has come out that it's a base salary over the 5 years is going to average out to about $3.75 million. Starts out at $3.5 million. There are a lot of incentives built in for winning and accomplishing certain things. So a little bit higher than I actually thought it was going to be. I had heard numbers thrown around like 2.5, 3, stuff like that, but it ends up being 3.5 to start, and will average about 3.75 over the course of the deal. So, look, Barry Odom from UNLV is getting paid $6 million at Purdue. I don't know of one fan that wanted Barry Purdue to coach at West Virginia. No offense to Barry Purdue. I'm Barry Odom. Sorry. I don't know of one fan that wanted Barry Odom to coach at West Virginia. There were a few. I know there were a few, but not many. Would you rather have Barry? And they wasn't going to be able to pay him $6 million. Instead, they get an experienced coach, a veteran coach who knows the landscape of West Virginia, knows the culture, knows how to recruit there, and they do it for almost half the price of what they would have had to pay Barry Odom. So you look at everything together, it's a winning situation to me. Now, let me give a shout out to some people real quick. We've got WVU fan 13 in the house, who's a VIP member. If what we discussed today by Pat McAfee, Rimbecker, and Rich Rod, money should not be a problem whatsoever. This will be the first time this kind of money flowing into WVU, I would expect, with all the hype. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. Sam Ventura, who's also a VIP member, says, the future looks bright for us, Mountaineers. Can't wait to see all the great stuff that happens. Matt Gandy with a super chat. He's also a VIP member. He says, did not get the vibe that this was a donor forced hire. Baker seemed very sincere that this was his guy. I agree with you, Matt. I sense the same thing. Ren, Pat, and Rich Rod all talked about that. All talked about Ren's process, how he turned over every rock, how he was extremely detailed, asked a lot of tough questions. Coach Rod talked about that. He asked the fair but tough questions. Ken Kendrick has put out tweets about it that, hey, Ren made this decision on his own. West Virginia could not afford to get this wrong. And you go out and hire a coordinator that has no head coaching experience. It's a huge risk. You go out and hire a G5 head coach. Are you just repeating what you just went through with Neil Brown, right? With Rich Rod, you're getting not only an experienced coach at the P4 level, an acting head coach at the FBS level, you're also getting all the bonuses that come with that, right? You're getting the donor support. You're getting the culture tie-in with West Virginia, the ability to recruit, all of that. It all ties together. So, again, add it all up, I think Ren, at the end of the day, came to the realization after interviewing all these other candidates, talking to people like Nick Saban, who came out today in support of Rich Rod. All of this comes back to one thing, and it's Rich Rod is the guy for the job. Rock and Rant says, I'm an outsider, and I know there are incentives, but I was surprised at how low his base is. Or am I misreading the info? No, it's average of 3.75. But there, yeah, and again, it's a lot of incentives. The rumor out there, again, it's a rumor, is that Rich Rod actually proposed a lower salary than that, but wanted a higher buyout. And West Virginia, and again, this will all come out eventually, and that West Virginia basically countered, no, we'll give you a higher base salary, but lower the buyout or something. I don't know. Those are the rumors that are floating around. Again, I can't substantiate that, but the buyout is a big piece of that, right? You want to be able to, if things go south, West Virginia doesn't need to be stuck in a bad situation, kind of like they were with Neil a couple of years ago. Remember the 2022 season when they really couldn't afford to act. Brandon Bailey, who's a VIP member, says, how can anybody that watched the events that unfolded today not be excited? I'm ready to run through a wall, and I'm 44 and never played football. Brandon, man, I'm with you. I am with you. We had a heckler today, a heckler from the crowd. That was kind of funny. Let's see. Outlaw College Football is a VIP member. He says, I heard Nick Saban was going to donate some resources too. 3.5 mil is what some coordinators make, by the way. Yeah, but that's, again, Rod, he's cool with that. Rich Rod, Outlaw, you not being a West Virginia fan, you probably didn't watch it today, and maybe you did. But one of the things that Rich Rod talked about during his presser is he wants, he left West Virginia, and he did say multiple times he regretted leaving, right? He understands he made a mistake by doing that. And I admire him for, Jonathan Martin and I talked the other night on the Golden Blue Breakdown show. He needed to address the elephant in the room, and I felt like he did that, right? He said, look, I shouldn't have left. I regret leaving, but I'm appreciative that you all are accepting me back, and I have this opportunity to finish the right way. It's bigger than just money for Rich Rod here. He wants to prove himself. He's a West Virginia guy. Grew up a few miles from the campus. It's his alma mater. It's his home state. He's coached there. His family's from there. His wife's family. I mean, he bleeds gold and blue, right? And it's a chance for him to right his wrongs. It's a chance for him to the things that transpired on December 1st, 2007, and the preceding, of him leaving. He has a chance to make up for that, and that's his motivation for coming back. He said he made a comment that he's thought about this day for a long time. He teared up, got emotional. If you watch that, and I know I've already seen a couple comments on X of people who are now, bought in. I don't want to say bought in totally, but they are at least now more accepting of Rich Rod. The events of today kind of brought them around, right? They are at least on board now. They may not be fully on board, but they're at least partially on board with the move. It was hard to watch today and not get emotional, man, especially for those of us who lived through that era of 2005, 2006, 2007, even before that with Rasheed Marshall and that group. They had some really good teams back then, man. And it was just so cool to see it. And I know nostalgia is a big part of that. I don't deny it. As a fan, it's awesome. But even, he talks about his hard edge. He talks about how guys, if you don't work hard, if you don't have a good work ethic, you won't play for me. Just all these things that West Virginia, in my opinion, were missing. They were missing that stuff with Neil Brown. Look, Neil Brown he's a great guy. I don't doubt that. And I don't think he's a bad football coach, but he just was not the right fit at West Virginia, in my opinion, for whatever reason. And one big piece of that, we've heard Neil Brown say, well, at least we're not 0-10, we're 5-5. It's not like we're 0-10. That is not the mindset of Rich Rodriguez. And that was made evident today when he said 3 times, we can win a national championship at West Virginia. That's the coach I want coaching my team, not the coach that is okay being 5-5. I'm not saying Neil was okay with it, but you get my drift. Making light of it would be the best way. Making light of going 5-5 and being mediocre. Saying he was expecting a 8 or 9 win team or 7 or 8 win team. Rich Rodriguez is not going to be happy with a 7 or 8 win football team. I can guarantee you that. Mountaineer Paul over at Locked On West Virginia interviewed someone who covered Rich Rod at Jacksonville State, and he said multiple times in that show, Rich Rod hates losing, detests it more than anybody he's ever met. He's not going to be happy winning 7 games a year like Neil Brown apparently was, right? And he's going to do everything he can to bring a national title to West Virginia. Now, will it ever happen? Again, I don't think it – I don't know that it ever will. I'm not sure West Virginia in today's landscape will ever be able to reach the pinnacle. But by gosh, at least I know we've got a coach in there that's going to do everything they've got to do it and believes they can. If you don't have the belief that you can, you've already lost. You've already lost. Rich Rodriguez is not going to make excuses. He's not going to complain. He's not going to say, well, did you have fun at the tailgate? Because you know what's fun to him? Winning ball games. And putting a team on the field that plays hard, has a strong work ethic, has a hard edge, as he calls it. They like to hit people. They like to be physical. We all remember the days. Remember how his teams used to play so hard and hit people so hard? It was fun football. His spread offenses were fun to watch. It wasn't boring, bland football that we've been seeing for the last 6 years. And he can bring that back. He's going to bring that back, in my opinion. Let me get to some of these super chats here. We've got Freezing Apes with a $10 donation. He says, it makes me sad that there are still fans who will attack others like me for loving this hire. There is more to what happened in 2007 and is the only recent coach that has a winning record in Arizona. Great point about Arizona. Everybody wants to say, well, he didn't succeed at Arizona. He took over a program that was a dumpster fire at Arizona. Won 8 games his first 2 years there. 8 games at Arizona. Not many coaches were able to do that. Then you had a 10-win season. Now, he followed it up with a losing season, then a 7-win season. He won games at Arizona as much or more than any coach they'd ever had in their history. It's not like Arizona was Ohio State. Yes, the Michigan run didn't go well, but he was never a fit there to begin with. He was never accepted by the donors and the boosters at Michigan. They didn't want him. Because he wasn't a Michigan man. So they were not pulling the rope in the same direction, no pun intended. And it wasn't a fit. Now, but that being said, though, I think if they had given Rich Rod another year or two, he could have won there. But they just didn't give him enough time. 3 years was not enough time for him to do what he needed to do to flip an entire roster. It wasn't the transfer portal era back then. We've got Appalachia Africa Twin in the house with a $10 donation. Thank you, sir. He says, spot the damn ball, smash the like button, mash the hell out of subscribe button, and show some love for Brother Couz. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin. I appreciate that support. Zach Ranson in the house. Thank you for the donation. He says, Neil Brown is a great man, but the few days Rich has been on campus, he has got me more fired up than ever under Neil. That hard edge is exactly what WVU needs. Let's go. I don't know how many of you were able to watch the clips of his speeches. He had a team meeting with the guys yesterday. It would have been Thursday. And he was honest with them. He told them, look, if you're the type of guy that's going to lounge in your chair like this, you're probably not going to play for me. You've got to be a guy who's sitting there paying attention, ready to go after somebody's ass. And that's exactly what he said. I want you ready to go after somebody's ass. And that is what he brings to the table. He's attention to detail. He's going to coach them extremely hard. And he told them up front, you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to be able to play for me, period. That is what we need, man. It's the blue collar, underdog mentality, outwork everybody else, and you beat people by outworking them. Yes, he's going to bring in some talent. I don't doubt that either. But they're going to outwork people. Do you remember the days when Rich Rod's teams used to sprint down the field at the end of the third quarter? Or actually, it was after every quarter. They always sprint. When they changed sides, they would always sprint. It always took the opponent's, the opponent was always taken aback by it. Well, he's bringing all that back, man. Earned success, something he preaches on. He embodies what it means to be a West Virginia Mountaineer, and that is exactly what they needed. Earth Ether says, Ren has to respect our desire to be on the bigs. Fan supporters, we all. Sorry, I didn't get the rest of that comment, Earth Ether. I think you may had a typo there. By the way, for those of you watching over on X, first off, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. After this show's over, I ask that you please go over to my YouTube channel. I'm on the country roads to 10K subscribers. Go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe over there. Make sure you check out my past videos, and make sure on this one as well, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really gets this thing pushed out to more people, helps that algorithm, and just helps my channel grow from there. Joey Foster, what's up? He says, Pat McAfee show was awesome today from Morgantown. Great fan turnout. It was great. By the way, I want to talk a minute about the heckler. I started to touch on that a minute ago and forgot to finish my thoughts there, but somebody stood up and heckled Rich Rod and basically told him to go back to Michigan or whatever. And man, the people started booing that guy out of the gym, out of the Coliseum, and they ended up escorting him out of the building. And Rich Rod basically, and I'm paraphrasing, said, "Get that pit fan out of here." So I thought that was funny the way he handled it. If you guys want to make sure your comment gets read, make sure you hit the $sign in the chat box where it says comment or say something. It'll highlight the comment. I'll be sure to see it, post it on the screen, and address it. Whether, if it's a question, I'll answer it the best of my ability. Or if you just got something you want to get off your chest, that's a way to do that. I'll answer also answer comments from my VIP members, and I will try to read other comments as much as I can. But again, we're probably going to have a pretty large crowd in here, so I may not be able to get to everything. Luke Bart says, dude, the atmosphere today gave me cold chills. Absolutely, Luke. It was awesome. And listen, I don't think we can overvalue what Pat McAfee is going to bring to this program. Whether you're a fan of his show or not is really doesn't even matter. But there are a lot of people who are. He has millions of followers. Millions of people that watch his show. Rich Rod even asked him today if he can bring him on his show once a week, and Pat, I think, agreed to do that. He's an ambassador for West Virginia, and he even admitted today, I was always going to support this program, but the hiring of Rich Rod is going to make me do it even more. That is just going to lead to more money pouring in, more student athletes potentially coming to West Virginia, wanting to play there, more students enrolling maybe even at West Virginia, which will help the school as a whole. Whether you like him or don't like him, he's a great ambassador for West Virginia University, and it is absolutely invaluable, priceless what he brings. And hiring Rich Rod is bringing that to another level. You've got the big donors like Ken Kendrick and others who are opening their pockets up, reportedly, to add more money to the pot, to the NIL pot. Ren Baker has talked about how West Virginia is going to be at or at least close to being all in on the revenue sharing of $20.5 million next year, starting next year. You add the NIL money on top of that through the Country Roads Trust, which is outside of what West Virginia is going to be, what the university is going to be able to do. It's setting up to be a recipe for success, in my opinion. One thing Rich Rod talked about today that I really had not thought about until today, until he mentioned it, with the four corner schools coming in to the Big 12, it's new schools you now have to recruit against for the Big 12 or in the Big 12, right? And Rich Rod talked about how him coaching at Arizona is actually going to help him in that regard. And I had not thought about that piece of it, but it makes sense because he had to play against Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado in the Pac-12. And of course, he was at Arizona during that time. So he kind of has an idea of the recruiting bases and all those kind of things that those schools recruit. Now, obviously, it could vary depending on coaching staff and whatnot, but at least he has an idea of what they're going to look for, and he knows he can recruit against it easier. If you know what your competitor's doing, it's easier to battle that, right? And I think that's something that, again, I hadn't considered. And he even talked about how they played BYU several times. So he knows the types of players they recruit. So that's going to help. And there are not many coaches that were on the table for Ren Baker that had that experience coaching in the Pac-12. He got Nick Saban's endorsement today. That's huge. That made me feel even better about the situation. Nick Saban talked about how Coach Rod is an innovator offensively, and he even talked about how when Rich Rod used to come to Alabama to watch his practices, Nick would actually ask him questions. How about that? The GOAT was asking Rich Rod questions about offense. That's how innovative he is. He said he basically invented the zone spread, or I think that's what he called it. I'm paraphrasing, but the style of offense he runs, he basically invented it. Now almost everybody in college football is running it. So he's an innovator. He's intelligent. And I really think now the one question I don't want to call it the concern, I guess I have is with Rich Rod is the way he coaches with the hard nose, hard edge style. It may be a little tougher, and he acknowledged this. It's a little harder to find guys in today's players that have that. But he feels like he and his staff are talented enough and gifted enough to find those guys that will fit the program and fit that hard edge. And he even talked about how I don't care how talented you are. If you don't fit the culture, we don't want you. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to fit the culture. You've got to have the work ethic, the attitude. You got to be willing to be physical, pay attention to detail, work hard every single day, put everything on the line for the program. If you're not willing to do any of that, it doesn't matter if you're a 5-star recruit, you're not going to play for him. And that's exactly the type of stuff we heard from Darren DeVries over on the basketball side. He is extremely, extremely picky about who he brings in to his program. Rich Ross is from the same mold on the football side. But a bonus is he's a West Virginian who can also recruit kids. Who knows what it takes to win there. It's a unique state. I've talked about it multiple times. It's a unique state. It's a unique program. Not just any kid can play there. So he knows all that, and he's going to fit all that. Jackson Johnson says, Rich Rod coming back to WVU is very similar to Bill Snyder coming back to Kansas State in 2009. Great comparison, Jackson. Great comparison. I know the one, Bill Snyder didn't have quite the same amount of success second time around, but he was pretty darn close. Bagman says, as an outsider Oklahoma fan, he would have went after Dan Mullen. Yeah, I wouldn't have hated Dan Mullen for sure. It would have been a good hire, but I just don't know that Dan Mullen, I'm assuming that Wren vetted or at least considered Dan Mullen. I don't know. And for whatever reason, I guess he wasn't a fit. And maybe Dan Mullen, wasn't interested in coming to Morgantown. I have no idea, but it's definitely a name that hopefully was at least considered. WV Fan 13, who's again a VIP member, says, I will honestly say this was not my first choice, but today felt right. The last time we had this kind of hype, we lost to Penn State the next day in the 6-6 season. I'm still very cautious, but hey, I understand WV Fan 13, but feel that the sky is the limit. Yep, I feel the same, man. I have hope after today. I really do. Trying to temper my expectations. I'm not expecting them to come out year one and compete for national championship or nothing like that. But if they can come out year one and win, 7-ish games, it's pretty good. If they come out year two, compete for, year two, get close to a conference title game, it's pretty good. Year three, they should be competing for conference championships. I think they can do it sooner, but I'm trying to be realistic with my expectations. Sam Ventura says, I'm wondering if Rich also took less so there's more money for his assistants. And he actually commented today about how he's going to be able to hire a really good staff, and talked about how he's going to have the resources to do that. So that was something else I took away from today. And, he's not married to and what was interesting too, he's not married to the 3-3-5 stack defense. He's interested in hiring the best defensive coordinator. And if that defensive coordinator just so happens to run the 3-3-5, that's fine. He's going to leave it up to the coordinator to make that decision and hire, and of course, fill out the rest of the staff. But he's not married to a specific defensive style other than he wants them to be very aggressive, which is something that's been missing the last few years. Is it not? We had that under Tony Gibson. He was aggressive as crap sometimes too aggressive. But he was aggressive, and he made you earn it. That's what Rich Rod wants. He talked about how, he's not going to huddle up. He's going to run the high-paced offense that he's always run. That's going to be fun again. That's going to be back. We're going to get back to playing exciting football again in West Virginia. Freezing Apes. Let me see what other super chats we got here. See. We have Farley 198033 says, I wonder who coach picks picks for DC. Hey, man, thank you you didn't have to put that in there twice, but I appreciate it. I don't know. Ironically, that's what I was just talking about. I'll be interested to see. I'm not sure if he'll bring his DC with him from Jacksonville State or if he'll go find somebody. It'd be interesting. Would Jeff Castile come out of retirement to work for him? That'd be interesting. Obviously, it's not going to be Tony Gibson. He's the head coach at Marshall now. But I'll be interested to see who he brings in. And then Fort Worth Mountaineer, thank you also for the super chat. He says, Rich's identity embodies what it means to be from this state, to succeed. I hope the donors put their money where their mouth is, and we are competing with the Big 12 fiscally and physically. Hashtag hold the rope. Thank you, Fort Worth Mountaineer, for that great comment. I appreciate you supporting what I do here, helping me keep the lights on. Real quick, before we get the rest of these super chats, I do want to give a quick shout out to my other, speaking of keeping the lights on, I need to give another quick shout out to my other sponsor here. If you're looking for a new sports book, look no further than our friends over at BetUS Online. With BetUS right now, on your very first deposit, you can get up to 150% sign-up bonus with promo code YouTube150. Again, that's on your very first deposit. You can get up to 125% on your next two deposits, up to a total of $2,000. So again, with promo code YouTube150, get a 150% sign-up bonus on your first bet. Please play responsibly, and remember, you must be 18 years of age or older. You can bet right now on West Virginia's bowl game. You can bet on the Army-Navy game coming up this Saturday. which is tomorrow as I record this or stream this. Bet on several of the, about any of the bowl games. The first round CFP games, I think, are up now. So take advantage of that right now if you're a bettor. But again, please do so responsibly. Now, let's get back to the show. I want to talk, let me get to these super chats, and then I want to talk real quick about some of the comments McAfee and Rich both said today. Let me get up here. All right. I have got Tanner Trax Premier. Thank you, Tanner Trax Premier. He says, where they say DeVries and Rich Rod makes me proud to be a Mountaineer again. Incredible what Wren has done in his short stint as AD. Bingo. There are still a few people out there who don't like Wren, and that's fair. We all have different opinions, but man, to me, he's hit it out of the park just about every time. I'm not going to say he's been perfect. He probably could have handled a few things differently, but man, I think he's the right guy for the job at this time. Look, there were reports out there saying that he's had conversations with TCU about their open AD job. Cross your fingers, your toes, pray, whatever you do, man. Hope that Wren Baker does not leave West Virginia, because I think he's the right guy for us to have to lead West Virginia into this new era of college sports. And we can at least hope he sees through what he started with this, with all the fundraising and everything that he's gotten off the ground, projects he has in store and stuff like that to raise money. I want him to be there long enough to see all of that through. If he's not going to be there forever. We know that. At some point, a big school is going to come calling, or a school closer to where he lives, something like that, like TCU, for example. But hopefully he's there long enough to see all that through. But he has done a great job, no doubt. We've also got Damon Tillman in the house with a super chat. He says, Couz, any truth to Wren speaking with TCU? Thanks for what you do for us. Spot the ball. Yep. I guess I just entered your super chat accidentally, Damon. But yes, I did see a report today. I don't remember what outlet it was from. Hold on, and I'll pull it up real quick. Someone sent it to me in a DM. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. It's not it either. Now, anyway, somebody did send it to me. He's like second or third on the list, basically, for the job. There is one other candidate I think that they prefer over him. So I'm hoping they hire that guy, to be honest. It basically said that they had discussions. WVU fan 13 with the super chat. Thank you for your support. It says Avon Coburn, last question, calling out MB on the Pitt game not being that important was classic. Asking RR was his feeling about that game was great. Is it September 13th, 2025 yet? Let's go, ESP. That comment, for those of you who may not have saw it, Avon Coburn, one of Rich's former players, was in the house. All-time leading rusher at West Virginia. Was in the front row, and I guess was credentialed for the event because he does work on a podcast, the Touchdown City Show. And Avon has been calling for change at West Virginia for a couple of years now. And I know he's on board with this move. At least it's from my understanding he is. And he basically asked a question, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, we had a coach here that made a comment about the Pitt game and basically said he didn't understand all the hoopla for one game. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And he asked Coach Rod, what do you think? And he said, I don't think we make it big enough. It's the biggest game of the year every year. That's the right answer. That is just one more check mark in a box of why he fits at West Virginia. I mean, he gets it. He understands the hatred for Pitt. You know why? Because he feels it. Because he's a West Virginia guy. He played there. He wore that gold and blue. Not only as a player, but as a coach. He gets it. He grew up around it. He grew up hating Pitt, probably. So it's in his blood. It wasn't in Neil Brown's blood to hate Pitt. And he didn't understand it because he had never been there before. He never experienced it. And apparently he had never experienced a major rivalry game like that before. He hadn't really, because of his time was at Troy before. So But again, you think he would understand rivalry games as a college football coach, right? But anyway, John Flowers, by the way, was there as well as a part of the media representing the Final Forecast. Asked a pretty decent question. I don't remember the question off the top of my head, but it was a good one. I think it was something about Rich's offense that he asked. But what I want to talk about now, and Tyler, that's a fair question, Tyler. He says, if every other mid-tier program isn't winning a title, then how can we? And that's what, like I said earlier, Tyler, you may not have been on here. I'm not saying West Virginia will win a title or can win a title, but at least I know we have a coach that thinks we can and is going to do everything in his power to make it happen. Whether we do or not is different. But at least he has hope that we can, or has belief that we can. I don't think Neil ever had that belief. Neil thought we were a 7 to 8 win football team. Rich Rod is not going to accept a 7 or 8 win football team. He's not. It's just not who he is. It's not in his DNA. Let's see. What I wanted to talk about next was something that I thought was pretty powerful here. And I talked earlier about Coach Rod and him making that statement about him coming back to finish things the right way. Pat McAfee talked about how, Pat McAfee missed a couple kicks in that 13-9 loss to Pitt in 2007, right? Pat McAfee has lived with that. He said he thinks about it every single day. Every single day, and he's guilty over it. He received death threats and everything over it. He which is terrible. But himself personally feels guilty over that game. And he wants to do everything in his power to help West Virginia win a national championship, and he thinks Rich Rod is the guy who can do that. Pat wants to use his platform. He wants to use what he can of his wallet, hopefully, to help West Virginia win a national championship, because he feels like because he missed those kicks, he wants that's the only way he knows to offset that or to make up for that. That's powerful to me. That shows how much he loves West Virginia University. It shows how much that bothered him and the rest of his teammates to lose that game. Think about it. It was the biggest game, arguably, outside the national championship game in 88, or I guess technically it was played in 89, but outside of that game, it was the biggest game in West Virginia Mountaineer history. And they blew the game. They did. They blew it. And he feels responsible because he missed 2 kicks in the game. And he asked Coach Rodriguez if Coach Rodriguez thought about that game every day, and he said, absolutely, I do. And that's part of the reason he wants to come back and finish it the right way. He's had that bad taste in his mouth for 17 years, guys. 17 years he's had to live with that. And he now gets to come back. What a story this is. He gets to come back. You couldn't write this may be, depending on how this thing turns out, they might make a movie about this one day. Think about that. He has a chance to come back and finish what he started, so to speak. Don Needham technically started, but you get what I mean. It's a metaphor. Gets to come back, finish it the right way, retire, hopefully, and go down as one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in West Virginia Mountaineer history. And hopefully, if things go their way, they have the resources they hope they have, he's able to get talent. Hopefully, again, it's a long shot. I get it. But hopefully win a national championship sometime. It's the one thing West Virginia don't have, man. They have a lot of conference titles. They've won New Year's Six bowl games multiple times, BCS bowls. They've had multiple 10-win seasons. They've had 13 consensus All-Americans. They put dozens and dozens of players in the NFL. They have NFL Hall of Famers that went to West Virginia. The 15th winningest program of all time. The one thing they don't have is a national championship. And Rich Rodriguez thinks, with the help of people like Pat McAfee and the supporters, people like us, the fans, who can support in our way, financially if we can afford it, and obviously buying tickets, going to games, buying merch, whatever we do as fans, our part between the support of the fans, the support of the donors, and he and his staff's coaching, and the good players that they're able to recruit. He thinks, and the leadership at West Virginia too, that's important. Everybody needs to be pulling the rope in the same direction. He thinks they can win a national championship. Man, who am I to argue with that? Right? I'm not expecting it to happen, but by gosh, I am so glad I've got a coach, or we've got a coach. West Virginia has a coach. I say we as a fan. I know I'm not on the team, but you guys get it. I'm so glad West Virginia has a coach that actually believes they can, and not one that says, well, I was expecting 7-8 wins. Or, well, at least we're not 0-10. And I'm not trying to throw crap. I hate to keep piling on Neil Brown. That ain't my purpose here, because I do think he's an awesome, awesome man. But he just did not have the right mentality. The mentality difference is night and day here. It's just totally different, you know? And I am so glad, so happy to have Rich Rodriguez back leading that program. It is such an emotional time for folks like me. And I know it's emotional the other way for some people. I get that. And I'm trying really hard to be respectful. I don't understand it. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around why so many people hate it and aren't willing to forgive the guy. But I'm trying my best to be respectful of your opinion, because I know it's your opinion and you hold it dearly. It's a very emotional time, but I'm hoping that today, with his remarks, him saying, hey, I shouldn't have left. I'm happy to be back. Glad for this opportunity to finish it the right way. Unfinished business was brought up a couple times. Hopefully with his remarks today, he's been able to at least start earning back the trust of those in Mountaineer Nation who did not like this move. Like I said, earlier in the show, I've seen a couple comments on social media saying that hey, he won me over today, or at least I'm willing to give him a chance now. And I'm sure over time, hopefully you'll see more and more of those people coming back, getting back on the Rich Rod train. More people spotting the ball, more people holding the rope, more people supporting this team who will play like their hair is on fire. That's what we need. We need to all be pulling the rope in the same direction. Administration, boosters, fans, coaches, players, everybody needs to be pulling the rope in the same direction. I've got another super chat here from Appalachia Africa Twin. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat. He says September 13th, 2025, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, Coal Rush Unis, and the return of Rich Rod. That would be awesome to do that in a blackout night game. Could you imagine? College Game Day may be there. At the very least, Pat McAfee show will probably be there. I saw somebody really early in the chat, and I apologize. I don't remember who it was, and I'd have to scroll all the way back to the top to get it. Somebody talked about the number 13. Today was December the 13th. The pit game is on September. Yeah, so the pit game is on September the 13th of 25. And Rich Rod's last game at West Virginia, the final score was 13-9. Maybe that's the lucky number this time. We will see. We will see. See if we got any other comments here. Earth Ether says he found those guys at Jack State with less. He will find them, or they will find him. Absolutely. You know, speaking of that, let's talk about roster for a minute. It's believed by many that Josiah Trotter is now very seriously considering pulling his name out of the transfer portal. That would be a massive move. If Coach Rod is able to convince Josiah Trotter, probably with the help of some NIL deals through Country Roads Trust, if they're able to pull Josiah Trotter out of the transfer portal and get him back on campus, back in the fold as a Mountaineer, that is going to be a huge, huge win. if he's able to retain Jaheim White. Guys, I'm telling you, Jaheim White, look back at the running backs West Virginia's had with under Rich Rod. Look at them. You had Noel Devine. You had Steve Slayton. You had Quincy Wilson, Avon Coburn. Jaheim White, to me, fits right in the same mold as a lot of those guys. They're all different in their own way as far as they run the ball. I get that. But I mean, you look at Jaheim White and the style of runner he is, would he not fit perfectly in a Rich Rod offense? Absolutely, he would. Paul and I were talking about that. We've talked about it a couple times, actually, over the last few days. Jaheim White would be the perfect running back for Rich Rodriguez, in my opinion. So hopefully he can keep him in the fold. Would love to see Nico stay. I hope that's the case. Not sure what's going to happen there. A lot of times coaches like to bring in their own quarterbacks that they already have a relationship with. I don't know. May see that happen. We'll see. But at the end of the day, Rich Rod's going to bring in the guys he thinks fits his system. He'll retain the players he thinks is going to fit his system. And this bowl game coming up, this is something I was thinking about today. I think this West Virginia. I haven't had time to do a preview show on the bowl game because I've been so engulfed with the coaching stuff, and I'm sure you guys, were probably more interested in the coaching stuff too. But I feel like this West Virginia team is going to come out and play hard in this game. I don't know if they'll win it because Memphis is not a great matchup for West Virginia guys. They like to throw the ball a lot. They have a really good quarterback, some really good receivers. They put up a lot of points and a lot of yards, so it's going to be a tough one. But that being said, I think they're going to give it their all. I think they're going to play their butts off because this is essentially a tryout for those guys. Rich Rod's going to be there watching the game. You can almost guarantee that. This will be like a tryout for those players for him. So they're going to go out and lay it all on the line more than likely. The ones that aren't seniors, the underclassmen who want to stay, they're going to play their butts off. And the ones that don't want to stay are going to want to put something on film for the next potential team they play for. So these guys don't think these guys are going to go out and lay down for a second. They're going to play hard. Like I said, will they win? I don't know. But they're going to play hard, I believe, for Coach Rod or for Coach Scott, interim Coach Scott. And they'll be trying out for Coach Rod and his staff so that they'll, keep them on the roster. They want to prove that they're tough. They want to prove that they have hard edge. They're going to probably go hard at practice. So I have no doubt in my mind this Mountaineer team is going to go out in that Frisco Bowl and play their tails off. Hopefully they come out with a win. I'd love to see the seniors go out with a win, another winning season. I'd love to see Coach Scott get a win under his belt as an interim coach that would help him in his future. I'd love to see Garrett go out with a win at quarterback. Wyatt Milam, these seniors, I'd love to see those guys go out with a win. Joey Foster, Chasing Alzheimer's, says, I'm a member of Country Roads Trust. I think every Mountaineer fan should join. I seldom get to go to games. I watch them on TV. With the money I save, I just send $50 a month in. Joey, thank you for that. I'm sure Country Roads Trust appreciates it. And I know everybody can't afford to do that. And if you can't afford it, then obviously don't do it. But there are other ways you can support the team. But if you can afford it, I encourage you to please join Country Roads Trust. I rejoined. I dropped out a couple months ago, I guess it was, and basically told them, when you bring in a new staff, I'll rejoin. And I did. I put my money where my mouth was, and I rejoined a couple of days ago. So there are multiple levels. Some are more affordable than others, obviously. But and you can make one-time donations too. If you don't want to do that, you can just make a one-time donation to Country Roads Trust. You can buy, if you're a beer drinker, they have the Country Roads Trust lager you can buy to help. If you like bourbon, they have the 1863 bourbon that you can buy that helps. You can go to the NIL shop and buy. They have Spot the Ball merch you can buy from the NIL shop. 100% of the proceeds are going to go to Country Roads Trust. There's ONIT Athlete. Now, this is not involving Country Roads Trust, but you can go. I actually have a link in my description box for ONIT Athlete trading cards. You can get some West Virginia Mountaineer trading cards. The players make 60% of the profits off of that. And if you use my link, by the way, I'll make a small commission from it. So please do that. You can go to couzescorner.com/shop. There's a link there you can use if that's easier for you. Anything like that we can do as fans to help this team and get them more NIL money for these players to help retain the talent that's there and help Coach Rod bring in more talent, whether it be from the high school ranks or from the portal, we need to do it if we can afford it. Again, see. Bagman says the whole culture talk and winning culture trophies only work when you're winning. That doesn't fly with us anymore. It's not the only reason why, but our coach is on the hot seat. Yeah, you're talking about Brent Venables. That's true. It doesn't. But Rich Rod, again, he hasn't coached here in 17 years. So, but you still have to build that. You have to start building the culture from day one. And then hopefully the winning will follow. With Neil Brown did a pretty good job building culture as far as locker room culture, but the culture he was building for whatever reason just never translated to wins on the field. And Rich Rod's culture, I think, will. Again, the proof will be in the pudding, as they say, but I really have confidence that it will. Jeff Ruff, who follows me, is a loyal follower. He says, WU has to have the right coach, fit, and Rich is it. I agree. Stanley Metz Jr. says, I'd rather him coach hard and have the man up with no drop off. Also, old adage, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That's great. I love that. It's one of my favorite quotes, Stanley. I appreciate that. It says, our Har will have talent that works hard. Will be a tough out. Hey, I heard Owen Schmidt tell a story in the gun pod the other day. He said they were playing Pitt. Well, I think it was Pitt they were playing one time, and they were hitting Pitt so hard and so often, the Pitt players started turning their backs. They didn't want to get hit anymore. You hit somebody enough times, they're not going to want to come at you anymore. And there were a few games this season where the Mountaineers were getting out hit. The other team was being more physical. And I'm not saying the guys on the team now aren't tough. I think they are. I think most of them are anyway. But there was something missing there, and I think Rich brings that to the table. He will bring something out of these players that they probably don't even know they have in them. I'm not sure Neil was demanding that from them. Maybe he was. I don't know. I wasn't in the locker room. But the players on this Western team that are tough, we'll know who they are because they'll probably stick around and maybe even play a lot. So we'll see. Now some will be tough and leave anyway because they may get more money elsewhere. But I think you'll get a good idea. Andy Galvin says, "Hey Couz, love you, man. Great day. Just started the stream. Let's go Mountaineers. Whether you like the hire or not, it's a great day for Rich, but it means nothing if you don't win. I think he will. He does have to win, man. He has to win. You're right. All this excitement we feel today can be gone like that if he doesn't win football games." Gibson said this is the last house he's living in. My boy is burnt out. Yeah, he did. Tony Gibson in his speech at Marshall said that he and his wife just bought their 16th home because he's moved around so many times coaching, and it will be their last home because he's home now. I'm happy for Gibby, by the way. And speaking of that, did you guys hear Rich Rod's comments today on the Pat McAfee show about Marshall? Connor, McAfee's co-host, asked him, hey, you got Gibson coaching at Marshall. Are you guys going to play each other now? And he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't spend 1 second thinking about the Marshall Thundering Herd. So I thought, man, he just took a shot. He did preface it by saying he and Tony were still friends. But he said, I'm all gold and blue, man. JC says, I just found your channel a few days ago. Good coverage. Thank you, JC. I appreciate you, man. I try to do more on the Big 12 as a whole most of the time as well. But with this coaching search, man, it has been, it's kept me busy. So I haven't had to do that as much. I do have some plans coming, hopefully, to start covering more of the Big 12, whether it's myself or someone else on the channel. There's some stuff happening potentially behind the scenes. But I want to, I eventually want to get somebody on to talk about Scott Frost coming back to UCF. I'm hoping to get a UCF person on to talk about that. I do want to do more coverage. I'm obviously going to talk about Arizona State being in the CFP coming up as well. So, there will be some Big 12 talk as well if anybody's interested in that. But again, this coaching search has just been an all-consuming event. Joey says, I got to run. Couz, love you, brother. And let's go Mountaineers. Eat shit pit. Thank you, Joey. Appreciate you, my brother. He says, before I leave, there are over 300 in here and only 63 likes. Please hit the like so your friends can find the show. Joey, thank you for that, my man. Thank you for that. If you're in the chat right now on a phone, all you got to do is hit the X. You're not going to be Xing off the screen off of me, but hit the X. It'll close the chat box. You'll see the thumbs up button. All you do is hit it. Then all you got to do is go right back to where the comment section is and tap it, and it'll pull the chat right back up. So easy peasy. Let me see what other VIP members are in here or any other comments that stick out. WV Fan 13 is predicting Memphis 34, WV 27. I hate to say that. Yeah, Memphis is a tough matchup for West Virginia. Again, they love to throw the football. They love to throw that football around, and they have a really good offense. CJ McMullen says, as an Arizona Wildcat, I appreciate your input, CJ. I was pissed when Rich Rod was fired. Live in Tucson and haven't been to a game since. Wow, CJ. That's something else, man. Listen, I know I've heard from multiple Arizona people who said they loved Rich Rod and hated to see him go. And if they had fired their coach, they would have loved to have had Rich Rod back. So thank you for that comment. Earth Ether says we can't go back, but we can go forward with a hard edge. I think we got another super chat here. Hellbilly, thank you for the support. He's also a VIP member. Says that's the difference, Couz. Rich has that hard-nosed killer instinct coaching. Neil was the wrong mentality. Great point, man. Great point. WVU Fan 13 with another super chat says one of the comments that RR said during his team meeting last night has stuck with me. He plans to finish his career where I'm going to finish it right. Yeah, and I love that comment, WVU Fan 13. That he made that comment again today, said he regretted leaving, said he should have never left. He said that, I think, 3 times a day, if I count right, that he should have never left. He just everything I thought he hit it out of the park in his presser. He said all the right things. He won the press conference, as they say, right? Now he's got to win football games. It's going to be very fun to keep track of the staff that he hires. It's going to be fun to track, the portal players that he brings in. Obviously, the West Virginia players he's able to retain is going to be crucial. I can tell you right now, from what I've heard from a couple people, it seems like for most of the players so far have been pretty impressed with Coach Rod. So hopefully that continues. And obviously, Xavier Bosley, the offensive lineman, he played for Coach Rod at Jacksonville State, so he's already going to know what to expect. So he'll be able to help his teammates through this process a little bit and kind of be that guy to tell them, hey, this is what he's going to expect. You need to do this and this and this. I think it's going to be – I actually think that's good to have Bosley on the team, someone who knows what – and also having – if he keeps Rasheed Marshall on the staff, Rasheed's going to be able to tell him, hey, this is what to expect from this guy. This is what he wants from you. Big Dan T, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. He says, if you like the content, hit like and donate. Maybe we can get a Couz Rich Rod interview. I would love that, man. I have actually already reached out to Mike Montoro, the SID for the football team. He's just now, he and Rich are just now starting to work together, so he doesn't know his schedule yet, but I would love, it would be a dream come true to have him on my show. So, yeah, it would be awesome. Not sure if it'll ever happen, but I'd love it. Thank you, Big Dan T, for the support. Big Dan T's been a huge supporter of mine from the beginning, so thank you, Dan. Earth Ether says, just to say thanks, Couz, appreciate the channel. Brother, means a lot, man. It means a lot. I saw your comment earlier that you kind of live, I think the word you used was fixed income or something. So the fact that you still donate me $1.99, brother, it means a lot to me. It really does. It really does. Well, listen, Jay McClanahan, VIP member, says that's our guy. And then before that, he said, let's go. Thank you for that. Jonathan Bell's Outdoors. Hadn't read his comment yet. He says, hey, guys, smash that like button and sub button. Spot the ball. Let's go Mountaineers. Matthew Watkins in the house says, if there's ever a time for WVU to get a natty, it's going to be this era. Seems like a lot is headed in the right direction. See, Timothy Green says, I think we'll be legitimate again soon. We got to unite. That's right. Don't blow off the bowl games, guys. This is from Misplaced Hillbilly. He says, don't blow off the bowl game, guys. These players played their butts off and deserve some love. They'll always be Mountaineers. Yeah, and I actually feel a little bad that I haven't done a preview show about that game. Again, time has just called up to me here, and I'm going to be out of town over the weekend, so I'm not going to have a chance to do one over the weekend. Maybe Monday I can put something out. I don't know. We'll see. But I would love to I'd love to be able to do a preview show for this team one more time with Garrett Green and guys. Garrett's going to go down as one of my favorite Mountaineers of all time, guys. He's put his heart and soul on the line for this football team, for this program. He gave it everything he had every single time out. It wasn't always perfect. Sometimes it was ugly. Sometimes he made a lot of mistakes, but, man, he laid it all on the line. And as West Virginia fans, is that not all we ask from our guys for the most part, right? Lay it all on the line. And he did that. He did that. So I'm going to miss him. I ain't going to lie. All right, well, I'm going to jump off of here, y'all. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a fun one. I hate that my guest never made it on, but it's okay. I didn't know if I was going to be able to talk for an hour. I can't believe I did it. To be honest, I was rolling, man. I'm an extrovert. I like to talk, and I was in a car all day by myself with nobody to talk to. So this is my outlet. I appreciate y'all listening to me and giving me an outlet. So thanks to everybody for hopping on, and thank you for your support. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for just watching. All of that helps me out. You don't know how much it helps. If you're watching on X, thank you so much. Don't forget the YouTube side. Please come over there and subscribe. And also, I can't forget, I got to give another shout out to my sponsors here. Cats Counter, Stone Street, and Buckner, and BetUS Online. Don't forget, 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit with promo code YouTube150 at checkout over at BetUS Online. Take advantage of that today. And if you need a personal injury or medical malpractice attorney in West Virginia or Virginia, go to yourlawyeryourvoice.com, and Eric Buckner and his team will take care of you. So do that today if you need them. Thank you all. I love you guys. I appreciate your support. Spot the ball, hold the rope, and Q Country Roads. Jason, shoot me a DM on X, brother, if you're on there, or on Facebook.